When it comes to animation, there is one type of medium that doesn't get the attention it truly deserves: horror. When animation does horror, it's interesting to see how it's done. Animated horror movies can range from comedy, action, psychological, fantasy, sci-fi, you name it. Whatever the case, animated horror movies don't get the spotlight they truly deserve. So today, I thought I'd share my top 10 animated horror movies. For this list, I will be looking at animated horror movies that I got the most enjoyment from, and not based on how much they scared me, because that's a list on its own. Also, I will be excluding films like The Secret of Nim and The Black Cauldron, as those lean more towards dark fantasy. With that being said, on to the countdown. Number 10, Biohunter. Kicking off my list is an OVA based off the manga by Fujikyo Hosono. The film follows two molecular biologists fighting a virus that turns people into demonic monsters. However, one of them has been infected, yet is somehow able to control his beast form, and uses it to fight the demons. This film, while simple, makes up for enduring characters, action, and scares. Number 9, Seoul Station. This South Korean zombie film serves as a prequel to the hit film Train to Busan that came out the previous month. While not on the same level as its predecessor, Seoul Station is a worthy follow-up. The zombies still look terrifying, the action scenes are intense, and of course the film provides more social commentary, tackling upper and lower class relationships. Number 8, Blood, The Last Vampire. Made by the same people behind Ghost in the Shell, Blood, The Last Vampire takes place in the year 1996 during the Vietnam War at the American Yotako Air Base and follows a mysterious girl named Saya who is on the hunt for chiropterans, bat-like creatures that feed on the blood of humans. With a runtime of 45 minutes, Blood the Last Vampire makes up in well-done animation, solid atmosphere, and brilliant action. Despite its short runtime and not much lore or backstory, Blood the Last Vampire has left quite an impression, as it got 3 light novels, a single-volume manga, a video game that was only released in Japan, 2 anime series set in different universes, and even a live-action remake. Number 7, King of Thorn. This anime film, based off the manga by Yuji Iwahara, takes place in a future where a pandemic that turns people into stone, hence the name Medusa virus, hits the world. A select group of 160 people are put into suspended animation in order to escape the virus and hopefully find a cure. However, something goes horribly wrong, and the people awaken only to find the facility they have been put to sleep in is now in ruins, with strange thorny vines covering the place and savage creatures roaming the facility. With only 7 survivors remaining, the group must find a way out while avoiding getting eaten by these creatures. This film was just as beautiful as it was disturbing, with its hauntingly beautiful soundtrack, yet bleak atmosphere. And of course, the characters really hold the film. Number 6, Extraordinary Tales. This anthology film brings to life 5 stories by Edgar Allan Poe: The Fall of the House of Usher, The Telltale Heart, The Facts in the Case of M. Vladimir, The Masquerade of the Red Death, and The Pit and the Pendulum. Each story has its own unique style of creepy yet beautiful animation, and it helps that each story has its own unique narrator, ranging from Christopher Lee, archived audio of Bela Lugosi, Julian Sands, Roger Corman, and Guillermo del Toro. This film was definitely made for horror fans. Number 5, Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. Based off the 3rd novel by Hideki Katsuki, Vampire Hunter D: Death Case, Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust serves as a sequel to the 1985 OVA film Vampire Hunter D, more on that film later. When a vampire by the name of Baron Meyer Link abducts a noblewoman by the name of Charlotte, her father hires D, a vampire hunter who is also part vampire himself, to rescue her. However, at the same time, Charlotte's older brother hired a group of hunters, the Marcus Brothers. Now it's a race between Dee and the Marcus Brothers on who will be triumphant first. But it turns out that Charlotte is with Meyerlink on her own free will. This anime is very well animated. Every frame is just a pleasure to look at. The character designs, the backdrops, and the action scenes are just nice to look at. Number 4, 9. Directed by Shane Acker and released on the 9th of September 2009, 9 takes place in a post-apocalyptic 1930s world that has been overtaken by killer machines. The only living things left are 9 sentient ragdolls known as Stitch Punks, created by a scientist via giving them portions of his soul and each representing a portion of his personality. Boy, was the imagery for this film off the charts. The machines in this movie are some of the most terrifying villains in animation history. The soundtrack for this film is also great, which is to be expected from composers like Danny Elfman and Deborah Lurie. Another thing this movie has going for it is the Stitch Punks themselves, as each one of them feels very human. Number 3, To Your Last Death. The most recent film on my list, To Your Last Death, is probably the most violent film that I have ever seen, and that is coming from someone who has sat through these movies. The film follows Miriam DeKalb, a woman who emerges as the sole survivor from her father's twisted game and is given the chance to relive prior events from a supernatural entity to save her siblings from certain death, armed with the foreknowledge of the events about to unfold. With complex, dimensional, relatable characters, stellar voice acting, relentless pacing, and twists at every corner, To Your Last Death is an experience that will have you on the edge of your seat. Number 2, The Batman vs. Dracula. When the Penguin accidentally resurrects none other than the vampire king Dracula, whose body has been moved from Transylvania to the cemetery of Gotham after his defeat, the vampire then proceeds with a plan to enslave all of Gotham City, and it's up to Batman to stop him. This straight-to-video film takes a concept as ridiculous as Batman facing off against Dracula and making it work out surprisingly well. The film provides brilliant ways of getting away with things around a Y7 rating, and seeing Batman figuring out how he was going to defeat such a force was engaging. And of course, who could forget Vampire Joker? The Batman vs. Dracula is a film that I personally rank alongside the likes of The Dark Knight, Mask of the Phantasm, and Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And number 1, Vampire Hunter D. This movie is not only my favorite animated horror film, it is also my favorite film of the 80s, my favorite vampire film, and my favorite horror film in general. Based off the first novel by Hideki Kachuki, Vampire Hunter D takes place in a post-nuclear Holocaust future of 12,090 AD, where vampires and other creatures of the night now rule, and follows D, a vampire-human crossbreed who is hired by Doris Lane for protection from Count Magnus Lee, a 400-year-old vampire lord who wishes to turn Doris into his bride. This film has everything that one could ask for: a unique setting, entertaining characters, action, drama, romance, terror, and moments that tug at the heartstrings. Vampire Hunter D has something for everyone, and that's why it's my favorite animated horror film. So those are my top 10 animated horror movies. Did your favorite film make the list? What are your top 10 animated horror movies? Share with me in the comments down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, share, and subscribe. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and happy Halloween!